Welcome to Mainland, your local regional television station. I'm Graham O'Brien, and some of the stories coming up in today's news. Tasman Dam, jobs and region's economy on Labour caucus menu, new airline lands, man banned from Tasman District Council, and more. Labour Party's Jobs and Economic Caucus Committee arrived to a wet Nelson on Wednesday. The caucus were in town to discuss the proposed Waimea Dam with the Waimea Water Augmentation Committee, comprising of local industry and councils meeting with the EDA. Visiting Pine Industries and Newdorf Winery were among some of the local businesses they were here to see. Chrissy Small caught up with the caucus at their first Nelson port of call, Lambretta's Cafe, and spoke to Dunedin Labour MP David Clark and MP for Tasman Damien O'Connor.
Can you tell me what is bringing the Labour caucus here, and tell me what this caucus is all about?
Well, this caucus is part of a wider program of visits to the regions. As a caucus, we've been really deliberate about getting out and about, talking to business people, NGOs, sector groups in the different regions of New Zealand. And of course, there's a feeling of neglect in the regions, which is borne out by the fact that roading funding and various other investment areas have been neglected under the current government, hospital funding, education and so on, where the screws have been turned down on the funding taps. The regions are struggling, and this government seems content to let most of the money flow through to Christchurch and Auckland, and so we're getting out and hearing the stories and then talking a little bit about what Labour's plan would be to make sure that the regions are properly supported in the future. Well, if New Zealand's going to get ahead, we need all of our regions to be prospering, and neglecting great chunks of the country makes no sense at all. In fact, the OECD says that regional development is where the low-hanging fruit is for most Western economies. Making sure skill levels are high and wages are decent in our regions improves overall GDP for the country and helps us all get ahead.
So David, okay, so what can Labour do to help those that are at the bottom of the ladder? And there seems to be a growing amount of people that are achieving that status.
Yeah, we need to make sure that there is opportunities for education. The nature of work is changing, and we've got our Future of Work program that's looking into that and looking at solutions for the coming election. Making sure that the hospitals are funded in the regions, making sure that roading is properly funded. This government's made huge cuts in roading funding for the regions. All of those funding infrastructure investments equate to jobs, and that has a flow on through to communities. So we're about building a high value economy with high wages, and Labour will continue unapologetically to do that, and we shall bring in some pretty strong policies to the next election based on the discussions we're having as we get out and about in the regions and our own research.
Right, now David, how can you assist small businesses who seem to be inundated with a lot of paperwork, a lot of things to think about rather than just run their business?
Well, the Labour Party took procurement policies to the last election, which were about ensuring that small business was a focus for government. That instead of the easy thing to do, which is to deal with big businesses and big size contracts, that government was actually focused, as it is in other world economies, on dealing with small businesses, which are usually local and which bring investment back into communities. So I imagine we'll be looking at those kinds of policies and seeing how we can make sure that they are up to date for the next election. The national government seems very focused on the larger corporate enterprises and has introduced a lot of legislation through the Parliament which really does, as you've said, amount to red tape for those smaller businesses. It doesn't seem particularly interested in the smaller businesses. Historically, Labour has always been on the side of quote-unquote the little guy, be that from the union end of things or these days through small business, and Andrew Little signalled clearly that we want to be supporting small business and we want to be supporting our regions.
Well, look, I've got 8 colleagues here, which is a very good turnout. We're doing regional visits right throughout New Zealand, just going to really connect with people, and really important we meet with different organisations, different businesses, different local body organisations, that just to hear what's going on the ground, and it allows my colleagues to get out and learn more about Nelson, Tasman, and I've been around in other places as well, South Canterbury, Hawke's Bay, so great way for Labour to get out and around.
Right, so, okay, are they here for the whole day, or are they here for a few days?
No, we're here for one full day, so a number of visits, and been to Whakatu, Nelson Airport, we're going out to Tasman District Council, going out to Newdorf, just to get a really good and wide-ranging brief on what's happening with the local economy.
And of course, Nelson Airport, that's still taking off, isn't it, with the airlines all coming in there?
Yes, very interesting to get an update, and a number of airlines. So what we've got to do now is work really hard to make sure all those airline seats are full. We hope they'll be discounted, so they'll be cheaper. We've got to make sure we put people on those planes to make it viable and build the opportunities in tourism and in other business.
Yeah, well, it's going to be great for retailers and the like to see more people here spending their money, isn't it?
Absolutely. The more people come down, and I think a lot from Auckland and North Island haven't been here, they discover the place, they're all, wrapped with it, and they'll come back again. But, all the money we can get in any way possible is valuable to the retailers.
Well, I think we've been quite a good kept secret, actually, apart from the able Tasman. It seems to be the crown, the jewel in the crown. But Damien, house prices, they're being pushed up, of course, in the regions because people who can't afford to buy in the bigger centres are looking at smaller centres like Nelson. Prices are going up here too, but we've still got the sunshine wage economy.
Yeah, well, ultimately the bizarre behaviour in Auckland is flowing right through to Hamilton into other cities like Nelson. We do have this reality that we've still got we've got low wages relative to many other regions. We've got to get those wages up. That's why we've got to get more money in the pockets of the orchardists and the pockets of the timber industry, so they can pay more money out and people can afford to buy a house here, because we don't want the big division in our local economy. It's happening around the world, it's happening in some places in New Zealand. We want people to be able to live here and be part of the community, own a house, have a home, and live on a decent wage. Putting more money into the pockets of average New Zealanders puts more money into the pockets of the small retailers and small business people. So we've got to work on, made round to go round, and we've said that we would increase the minimum wage, and a lot of small business people think, oh, that's terrible, I can't afford it. But if they look at who their customers are, that money will come back to them. And so we've got to, be on an upward spiral of wages and conditions for all New Zealanders, and getting more money for our produce, for the quality produce that we generate here, is really important, and that'll flow through.
Well, we've got the big port here, so we've got that advantage. Now, Damien, so you're playing host, because sadly we don't have an MP for Nelson for Labour, but so you're it. How's it going?
It's going really well. I mean, I'm always in and out of Nelson and connected with the community, but never enough time to do justice to, Nelson, along with my West Coast Tasman electorate, and so lots of travel. But any opportunity like this, I grab with both hands, and these colleagues are really having a great time, and a few tohu wines that they're going to have to taste when they get home. Things like that just give them a good sample of what we have to offer.
It may be too soon to predict, but it seems a drought may have been waylaid, with people waking up to a healthy arrival of rain on Wednesday. Chrissy Small caught up with Mayor Kim Thorne earlier on Tuesday afternoon to talk about where things stood with the Lee Valley Dam and the extremely dry spring we've been having up to now.
Now, Richard, the Lee Valley Dam, where is it at this stage? Where is the planning? What is going on with the dam? There'll be a lot of people wanting to know.
At this stage, there's the work is primarily sitting in the irrigators camp. The irrigators have a company called Waimea Community Dam Company, so they are having a discussion amongst themselves, that's the irrigators, to see whether they can contribute, how many people are prepared to sign up to contribute the finances of what's going to need to construct the dam. So previously Council has committed up to $25 million, but now there's going to be a significant amount that's needed from irrigators, and that discussion is happening. In addition to that, there are a whole lot of issues that the Council is working with Waimea Community Dam Co, so that if it does go ahead, there's a whole lot of things that need to be answered and security put in place, and we're just in the relative early stages of having discussions about some of those topics. Everything has to be identified fully and worked through before we actually agree to build a dam.
The dam itself isn't really a done deal at this stage.
No, it's not a done deal. There's a huge amount of work that's been done. We know if it's to be built, where it should be built, how it should be built. We've done some initial work with costings, which have come out with reasonable certainty within estimates, but certainly we're not at the stage of pressing the go button.
Okay, so all those people that are concerned about their rates going up to pay for it, they needn't be concerned as yet.
Well, it is a concern for people. One of the things that's interesting is people want environmental benefits and environmental issues to be addressed, but when it comes to paying them, there's actually not many people that want to pay for them, which is not surprising because people are concerned about cost of rates. On the balance side of that, what I can say is that over the last couple of years, and the last year in particular, we've had a very careful look at what projects we commit to, dam included, as we go forward, and we've got to a better state currently than we have been for a long time with respect to debt, with respect to costs, with respect to the cost of rates and increases.
Okay, so look, we're seeing a lot of growth in the area. Tasman's really taking off. We've got developments happening everywhere, housing developments. That must put a strain on resources.
Yes, it does, although there have been really good discussions with developers and with council. So one of the big challenges on this is providing the infrastructure that is needed for new developments to hook into, providing water, providing stormwater so that when we have floods it can get away, providing mains for sewerage, etc. So all of that is the cost that comes onto council, and we've got a good development contribution policy where we're expecting that the cost of development comes home to developers and people buying into development, but the normal maintenance is covered by the existing community, rather than the existing community having to fund development costs. And it is a real challenge, and that's when it comes to our ongoing program, we're having to be very conscious about where we allow development and where we enable development, and when we say, no, look, we just can't afford that at this stage. So we're focusing on enabling it where the key need for growth is, which tends to be around Richmond, Brightwater, Wakefield, Motueka, and probably in due time Mapua.
I see there's quite a bit of development going on what used to be Danny Freilich Orchard there.
Yes, right.
Now, but that has an aquifer available to it.
That does have underground water.
Yeah. So I guess council has to consider all those natural environments around those developments as to whether they do go ahead or not.
Yes, it does. There's a lot of thought goes into it, trying to enable growth in the right place and enable it in the right way. What we're also trying to do in the urban areas is to enable intensive development, so a bit closer together so that we utilise the land that we're gobbling up for growth as best we can, and not just spreading everywhere over good quality land.
Okay, so less life sentence blocks and more kind of infill housing.
Yeah, less lifestyle blocks. Yes, that's right.
Now, Richard, we've got a grey day happening out there today, but other days we've been having lots of wind, it's been hot, it's almost like summer's arrived early. So water restrictions, are we looking at facing any of those in the near future?
Yes, we are. In fact, today, Tuesday, is the day that the Dry Weather Task Force meets, and I'm not sure if it's going to, because we are overcast, and if we have a bit of rain, it'll probably take the pressure off for a day or two, but we are right at the stage of coming into water rationing, and it's probably one of the earliest that we've ever been there. The El Nino effect is it's likely to have a very significant impact on us this summer. It's certainly nothing new. We usually have it, but it is earlier than usual. Predictions have been that it'll be quite a severe one, so it is a watch this space. All we do need to do is have a bit of a shower of rain, and that can take the pressure off for a week, but we certainly are looking at going into rationing very soon.
We're quite dependent on underground water supplies, and that, of course, is one of the reasons why people shouldn't be watering their gardens every day. What else can people do to conserve water?
Well, I think if people are just very conscious about how they use water, if they are going to water gardens, use it very sparingly. In their home, also using water sparingly. I think that's all we can do. I think the reality is that with rationing we could face this summer, it could be quite significant for a lot of people, including residential areas.
Wednesday welcomed in the first commercial flight for Kiwi Regional Airlines into Nelson. The arrival was marked with the traditional water cannon from the airport fire truck and also included cake for passengers departing to Hamilton. Mainland TV's Ethan Williams spoke to the CEO for Kiwi Regional Air, Ewan Wilson.
So Ewan, it's great to catch up again from the couple of weeks ago. How have the first couple of flights been with Kiwi Regional?
Yeah, look, they've been good. They've been typical of aviation in the sense that we've been challenged with weather in Queenstown yesterday and fog early this morning in Dunedin. But I'm happy to say the aircraft got off to Nelson. So it's been challenging but very rewarding to see it all come together.
Yeah, so apart from the kind of the weather things, there haven't been really many teething problems?
No, look, weather is one of those things that we just cannot control. And as an airline, we've got to have processes in place to adapt. But otherwise, yeah, really pleased.
Oh, fantastic. So how has Kiwi Regional been received at the regional airport so far?
Yeah, look, we've been really welcomed in Nelson. And so the Nelson Hamilton service and the Nelson Dunedin has been very, very good. So we've been delighted by the way we've been received in those areas. Obviously, the Dunedin Queenstown service is a little slower than we would have liked.
Yeah.
But look, it's the industry is challenging and a little fickle. So we're however very pleased with our support from Nelson.
Fantastic. So as we know from last time that you and I talked, you guys are avoiding the major routes that the bigger airlines fly. Do you think that perhaps the reason they don't fly them is because of their profitability?
Look, I think the other way of looking at it is they would prefer people to travel slightly further to a slightly larger regional centre to fly to a major centre so that they can increase their profitability.
Right.
So I don't think it's a measure of that these regional routes can't make money. I just think it's a factor that Air New Zealand and Jetstar can make more money from flying from the slightly larger centres where they can put larger aircraft in. So we're quietly confident that the Nelson Hamiltons and the Nelson Dunedin routes can work.
Awesome, yeah. And so I understand that there's been a cut in the number of flights between the Dunedin Queenstown Dunedin flights. Why has that been?
Yeah, well, we're certainly not cutting the flights in any shape or form to Nelson.
Yeah.
We love Nelson.
Yeah, of course.
That the demand for the Dunedin Queenstown was less than we expected, and I may have been guilty of putting a little bit too much capacity on that route. And so we're now just right-sizing it, going back to a Monday and Friday.
Right.
Kiwi needs to be nimble. We need to, you can do a lot of research and analyse these markets, but ultimately you don't know until you actually get out there and do it. Clearly, we feel that we've made some good decisions regarding the Nelson Hamilton and the Nelson Dunedin. But we put too much capacity on the flight to Queenstown, so we're adjusting it to reflect what the market has said, and I'll be very quick to cut that route if it doesn't perform.
Right. So you're not anticipating any other reductions in flights between other regions?
No, not at all.
Fantastic. Well, that's good.
Do your children want to dress up for Halloween, but you're not into the whole ghost and goblins thing? I spoke with Dean Nick Kirk at Nelson Cathedral, who is offering an alternative to children and parents. Dean Nick Kirk, thanks very much for spending a bit of time to talk to us.
Yep, no, that's fine. We've got a family fun night coming up on the 31st, and we just wanted to... how it started originally was we were concerned about children going knocking on doors, and it's not really a safe environment these days, so we wanted to put something on that kids could come and experience an alternative to Halloween in the cathedral. So we have a bit of a barbecue out here and stuff going on, all sorts of games and activities for the children to play in. So it's lots of fun.
Yeah, it's a really good point you make there. It's not so safe these days, and you don't know what they're getting from other people.
Yeah.
And also, there's an alternative to people who are not really into the whole Halloween ghosts and goblins thing.
That's right. Yeah, we wanted to really sort of say, well, we can celebrate All Souls Day in a different way, so it's an alternative. So yeah.
So we'll look forward to seeing what you've got here on the 31st. Thanks for
Great. Okay, we'll look forward to it too.
Yeah. Thanks very much.
Thanks. We've often had the cathedrals being full of children and families, and just that it just seems to fill up on those days.
Well, it's such a nice place to have it.
Yeah, it is, and it's lots of fun. Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Family Fun Night this Friday the 31st at the Nelson Cathedral from 5 till 7 p.m. No scary costumes, please. A man taking a stand in the Tasman District Council meetings public forum has found himself in hot water and has been banned from entering the council building for 2 years. Disgruntled Golden Bay B&B owner Reg Turner refused to stop his presentation or leave the building when directed to by the Mayor. Reg refused to stop addressing the chamber for more than the 3-minute time limit allowed, saying he was making a stand.
The previous speaker spoke for 5 minutes without interruptions. I've seen the local iwi speak here uninterrupted for almost half an hour, and all he's asking for is 2 more points to speak when the council reconvene this meeting, and it's not an unreasonable request. And in fact, in law, it states in the Local Bodies Act that he's entitled to seek the time that he wishes to speak in a public forum in front of the council without interruption. So his decision that he's got the power to speak, and they should reconvene and give him the opportunity to speak for 2 more minutes and 2 more points.
Okay, so
That's what I was.
thanks for your treatise on the local government match.
Yep.
Thanks, really appreciate that. Reg, I'm asking you to formally, once again, I'm asking you formally to leave the chamber.
I'm asking for the right to complete my last 4 points.
I'm hereby trespassing you from the chamber. The effect of this notice is immediate and it lasts for 2 years.
Is that possible, Max?
You need to ask what you've been trespassed for.
What am I trespassing on?
I don't really want this person in this conversation. If I can avoid it.
I'm
This
sorry,
issue
I'm
is
entitled
between-
to advocacy. I'm entitled to...
I'm entitled
You
to
can't
issue
trespass on a public
notice.
property
I'm
in a private and a public.
I can
For my
and
sake,
I
Vincent.
am.
Gentlemen,
Reg,
I don't
no,
know.
So I'm now serving this notice on you.
Well,
No,
I mean, give it. I want to finish
That's
my
up to you
speech.
guys.
We've been told that you've been disorderly here,
Well, he hasn't.
and that's the whole reason that you've been asked to leave several times. So the council now formally trespassed you from the premises, and they've asked you to leave. If you don't leave,
You can arrest me.
yes.
Arrest me. We'll go. Go on.
Okay, we can go. Don't you get your notice?
I thought you were going to arrest me.
No, I'm giving you an opportunity to leave.
Oh, I see.
If you don't leave, then we can.
Chrissy Small spoke to Mayor Richard Kempthorne about Mr Turner's stance over his complaint.
Richard Kempthorne, thank you for taking the time out to answer a few questions today. Now we're here to talk about Reg Turner, the Golden Bay man who was taken from council by force by police. Can you tell us a bit about why that happened?
Sure. The way council meetings work, on a full council meeting day, and this was full council, we often have a very full agenda. We have a lot of business on the agenda. We often go through till about 4 o'clock, and it's pretty solid going. We have a established protocol with council that we have a public forum at the beginning of all council meetings and committee meetings. And people can come in and they can speak for 3 minutes on any topic they like. If there needs to be a slight extension on that, then we give it. But what we expect and what I expect is that those speaking to the council and the council in our listening are respectful to all attendees. And that's what didn't happen on Thursday when Reg came in. So he was pretty worked up about the issue, which is not unusual. People often are. But things did get a bit out of hand, and so I said, look, we're going to need to wrap it up. But there was no notice taken, and so I said, look, we're going to adjourn the meeting and I'll ask you to leave. So that's what we did.
Right. Okay. Does this happen very often in council?
No, it's never happened before while I've been involved, so it's very unusual. So it's an opportunity for any member of the public to come in. People need to feel comfortable that there's going to be a respectful atmosphere in the chamber and that they can be heard, and so that's why I took the measure that I did.
Now, Reg has a problem about council not supporting his desire to have a road sign put up to show an alternative route to the Heaphy track. Is that an adequate route to the Heaphy track? Is the road in good condition?
Shall we start that again? Because it's actually not about the road to the Heaphy. It's about the road to his B&B.
Right, but he wanted it to show it was an alternative route to the...
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, we'll start that again.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Richard, the argument that Reg obviously has at this time is that his B&B is quite close to the Heaphy track, and it is on an alternative route that is to the Heaphy track, I believe. Yep. He would like council to put signage to that effect on the road. Why is that an issue?
The issue is because it's considered not to be a safe alternative route, and therefore, because if the council approved signage which said here is an alternative route, the community should be able to expect, and any visitors should be able to expect, that it's a safe road. And because of the geometry of the road, which is gravel road, it's not very wide and it's got some interesting corners, it's not an appropriate road for visitors to be taking. So locals know the road well, and that's fine. But the main road from Collingwood up through Bainham to the Heaphy track, that's the road that is sealed, that's the road that has road markings most of the way, good delineation, and it is considered a much safer road, and so that's where it is encouraged that people going to the Heaphy or to Bainham take that road. I think there was also a query as to whether Dock or the Bainham store would support that as an alternative road, and they didn't. They said, no, we think it should just be staying with the normal signage.
Right.
After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.
Nelson Tire Center. Great prices, great service. Buy your own Bryford trailer. All types, all sizes. See Colin Douglas for your tires and batteries.
Edward Gibbon, the bathroom specialist, have a great range of bathroom ideas at their showroom at 23 McGlashan Ave in Richmond. Call in and check out some of the latest bathroom designs and fittings. Edward Gibbon, the bathroom plumbing and drainage supply specialist, 23 McGlashan Ave, Richmond. Victory 60 Plus is on Tuesdays at 1:30 through to 3:30 p.m. at 238 Upper Vanguard Street. You can join in for cards, games and a cuppa.
On behalf of the team here at Mainland Television News, thank you for joining us, and we'll bring you the latest news and events from around the region again tomorrow.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.
Nelson Tire Center. Great prices, great service. Buy your own Bryford trailer. All types, all sizes. See Colin Douglas for your tires and batteries.